right, so now we're going to finish up this letter here, and we're going to start with our salutation. So we're at the very end of our paragraph right here. We're going to go ahead and press enter once, and we're going to type sincerely yours. Again, spelling incorrect, right click, gives me the great definition. That is the one word I struggle the most in my life to spell. I have never figured that one out. And then we're going to press enter 3 times. And you're thinking, well, why 3 times? Because we're ideally going to print this letter, and we need a spot for David to actually sign it physically. So we're leaving a space before that. And we're going to type his name, David Alzacar. Okay, and then we're going to press enter again. Now, David's last name is spelled incorrectly, according to Word's dictionary. That's okay. Be aware if you're typing unique names to make sure you're double checking that it is spelled correctly, because Word's not going to help you right now. So if you are looking at this, you'll notice it is spelled incorrectly. That is okay. We're going to ignore that for now. Now we're going to type our first, middle, and last initial in lowercase and press enter. Now it's going to automatically assume that my first letter is obviously uppercase because it's the start of the next paragraph. However, my initials are not a word. So we're going to ignore this for right now. And we're actually going to fix that really quick and easy. And I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut this time of Control-Z. Control-Z is our undo. Again, if you're more comfortable, undo is in the upper left corner. But Control-Z will actually undo that auto formatting. So if you watch my initials, it got rid of that for me. And I just realized I put my maiden last name. Super fun. Again, came up, it is a word because that's September, but we're going to Control-Z, gets rid of that nice auto update there. And then you're going to type enclosure. Enclosure because we have attached something on here. Okay, so that's how we're going to end our letter here. We're going to, of course, click save here. Everything looks good, but we're human. We make some mistakes. So we're going to actually proofread our letter. So we start from the top, look through. We're looking for those wavy red lines or those blue double underlines. We're really getting those under Alzacar. So I'm going to right click, and you can actually ignore this, which is really nice. I'm going to click ignore all. I don't need that to be on there. Not a big deal. Looks great. Again, we're going to do the same thing for my initials. Right click, ignore. Okay. So you would want to read through, if you were typing this in a real situation, you would just read through this. I like to read things out loud. It forces me to pause and not auto insert words that I think are supposed to be there. So that's what I would do in this sort of situation. Now we need to make it look perfect with our lines and spacing. So paragraph spacing is the space that appears directly above and below a paragraph. So that's what this is. This right here, that is a paragraph. How do I know? I have my little paragraph symbol. Each of these, according to Word, is its own little paragraph, own little line here. So a paragraph can be super long, it can be super short. Now there is also something called line spacing. This is the space between lines of text in a paragraph. So the space between this line and this line, that would be line spacing. So this particular line spacing would have a certain number assigned to it. Now there's also called single spacing, which is going to allow the least amount of space between lines. And all other line spacing are called double spacing. It talks a little bit more about it in your book with the actual numbers in that. Super kind of a fun fact to know. It helps you with formatting. But we're actually going to follow the formatting for a block style business letter. Okay, so we're going to move our paragraph right up to where it says Carla Zimmerman. And we're going to select her whole thing. Okay, so everything here, this whole thing. And then it says press and hold the mouse button, drag the pointer down to select the next 2 paragraphs. Now, this is kind of confusing if those of you are reading along. It says to do this again. That's going to drag it, and that does not help us out. What they're actually asking is for us to highlight this whole thing. Okay, so we're not going to select the paragraph spelling city straight, all that good stuff, because we don't need to change that paragraph spacing, but we're changing their spacing. So we're going to highlight Carla through the Eagle Road. Okay, then we're going to go up to our ribbon. We're going to be in our home ribbon here, and we're going to click on line and paragraph spacing button. Now there's this nice little button, and again, it's going to depend on your screen. So I'm using a laptop, and there are actually more buttons available if I click this little square with an arrow, and it gives me more options. So some of the times if you're reading through your book and you're looking for something specific and you don't see it, it may be hidden because of your screen size. I am looking for this little line and spacing, paragraph spacing button. It looks just like this. Again, if you hover over things, it'll tell you exactly what they are. And we're going to click this down arrow, and it gives us some options. It gives us all these options. And as you see, if I hover over each of these, I can see what it's doing to my document. Super fun, right? So what we're going to do is we are actually going to remove the space after the paragraph. So you can see we're removing that extra space because we want all those nicely enclosed together. And as you see, the reason we didn't select Pittsburgh is because we don't want to remove the space between Pittsburgh and Dear Carla. We just want to remove the space between all the other parts of the address. So if I just click on this, nice and easy. Ta-da! Super great. It's taken care of. And as you can see, that would have taken just 2 clicks. All right, so another easy way to select something, so we're going to actually go down to our initials. You can use the nice little drag if you want to highlight the whole thing, but my favorite is if you double click. It selects the whole word. So this is a nice helpful tip if you're more comfortable using your mouse rather than your keyboard to navigate. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to remove the space after this paragraph as well. So we're going to go back up to our little lines and paragraph spacing button, click this little guy, and remove space after paragraph. Because remember, the P, that little backward P, is our paragraph. So we're removing the space after that P symbol. Ta-da! Super nice and easy. Now there's a couple keyboard shortcuts in your keyboard, in your textbook, and it says to compress lines is to press Shift Enter. That one is another super easy shortcut, if that makes sense. So what they're talking about, I'm going to use Control Z, is if I wanted enclosure to be right underneath my initials, if I hold Shift and I press Enter, it puts it right there underneath. Now, notice it's still part of the same paragraph. And that is where it can get a little bit messy, especially if you start formatting later on. This is what we call a manual line break or a soft return. So we can use that if we would like, but for me right now, that is not going to be helpful. We're going to just stick to our normal. So double click, lines and spacing, remove space after. Now we need to add David's title. We're going to do that by using that Shift Enter shortcut here. Shift Enter. Notice I have my manual line break, and I'm going to type communication instructor. And now it's just straight underneath of that. So that's a nice shortcut if you maybe is like, oh, stink, I need to add something really quick. That's a nice, quick, easy way to do it. Would I recommend it for every single one of these? If you're not planning to edit it later on, great option. If you are somebody who is going to be maybe doing a little bit of adding a photo, or maybe you're using a different style of letter, so you're not doing this business style letter, it can cause some issues in the future, so just be aware of that, but it is very helpful in situations like this. All right, that is the end of our part 3. go ahead and take a break, and we're going to come back with part 4.